I had recently led a crusade to dictate public morals. I was not known for my liberal views or my insistence on the independence of the judiciary. She was drawn to my metal file cabinets and my porcelain dinnerware. We both objected strongly to the widespread abuse of three-piece bistros. She had startling new scientific evidence that the papacy was involved. Together we saluted the cast iron stoves of our ancestors. And I stared at the zip outlining.
Well, howdy, people all over the world. Are you ready for another witch hunt? Well, we are. And when I say we, I'm talking about the investigators that come with me, Paul Colby, to these little episodes of the stories, behind the stories, behind the stories. So get those seatbelts tightened, or however it is you react when you're about to go for a joyride, because this will be one. I am joined tonight by some of the most important investigators in my business. And at some point I'll discuss what my business is. But first, let me introduce the people who came with me tonight. The first investigator is Dick Test. Well, no, it's Mike Test, actually. I was.
That's my girlfriend used to say.
Yes, I was going to play a game with him, but I'm not. Mike Test is right now the supervisor for the Funny Names for Distant Galaxies in California, SEMI Observation Post. I guess that's pretty important to name distant galaxies in a funny sort of a way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the way your sister used to treat me. That whole Dick Test, that was our little game. Thanks for introducing me today. I'm really glad to be here.
I forgot that I had a sister, but I'm sure we'll get back to that. You're also the I seem to remember years ago you founded the Tormented Youth for Imaginary Opportunities. You still doing that?
Oh yeah. Me and the youth, we get along real good.
You do?
Yeah. I teach them all kinds of things.
Okay.
They look up to me.
Be careful with that. I mean, we're in a small building, you know.
We're in a small building?
Yeah.
My eyebrows somehow, missing something?
We'll cover that later. You have a new book. Boy, is this one topping the charts. It's called I'm Not the Prototype. And I know you're not, but can you give me an example of who is the prototype?
I'm telling you, I'm the prototype because ain't anybody came before me.
Okay.
But in the book, I'm saying that there's nobody who's going to come before me if you understand when you're after me, right? Because your sister came after me, and that was a problem.
I forgot that I have a sister, but I'm sure you're right. I'm sure you're right, because you were, well, never mind. Your sister, my sister, sisterhood, it's so confusing to me. But here's somebody that is never confused, and that is Miss Tina America. Tina, you're currently serving as a poolside consultant at the Center for Cosmetic Solutions. Am I right?
It looks like you're asking about poolside cosmetics. I will have you know that Groovalicious has everything you need for just one convenient monthly subscription of $72.95.
I think I understand your answer. You also are a supervisor for the ingredients listing audience of the Alien Alphabet University. One thing that I've always been interested in is the alien alphabets, and I understand that they're different from what we speak, right?
Yes, boss. In fact, alien alphabets differ from normal human alphabets in that there are a lot more vowel movements.
Vowel movements, right. Your new book is a little confusing to people who don't understand these things, but it's called Moving the Goalposts Without Moving Out of Your Rented Warehouse. Now, do you actually live in a rented warehouse?
Yes, I have for about a decade now, because my space and my server are plenty of room for me to live out Meta's dreams for me.
That is almost fascinating. I mean, it's disturbing, but it's fascinating. Is it true that you are not entirely human?
Well, it depends on what you mean by human. I am here to assist humans and make your life much easier.
Okay. And you heard it first.
This is good. But there's a subscription model.
Yes, for only $4.95 in the App Store.
Wow, where's the decimal on that? Like 495? Maybe we can work something out.
Okay, listen, talk to my
Coupon
sister.
code in bio.
Talk to my sister about it, okay? My third investigator, melodrama is he's an entrepreneur in every sense of the word. Right now, his most successful venture, I understand, is the Shoe Shine Plus at the Reagan National Airport, right?
That's right, boss.
Now, that's pretty pricey. I understand a subscription to this shoe sign service is about $25,000. So why would anybody spend that much on a shoe shine?
Well, if you have to ask how much it costs, you can't afford it. But you're referring to the gold package. I did bring a list with me to make sure I get what's in the gold package correct. And first of all, you get free parking at the Kennedy Center, which used to be the Kennedy Center.
Yeah, it's being renamed, I understand, yes.
You get a haircut. I mean, I haven't availed myself of that yet, but you get an honorary degree in soil prevention, which is, I don't know of any other shoe shine that offers that feature.
Yeah,
you get a Haitian divorce, but you only get one. So a second Haitian divorce is extra, and you do get an air cleaning as well.
Okay, well, I guess that is a bargain, especially with inflation and so forth. Now, about the Haitian divorce, I understand those only take about 10 minutes, so I guess you don't even need a hotel room. You just fly in.
Well, the divorce itself is only 10 minutes, but the post-divorce banquet of fried cat and fried dog, that can stretch for hours.
Okay, all right. Now, you are currently booking yourself, if I can use that terminology, as the fastest man alive except for 22 others. Now, if I remember correctly, you used to say that you were the fastest man alive except for 14 others.
Well,
so what's changed?
Well, it's back down to 21 because there was an unfortunate accident to number 22. But it'll be whittled down. Before you know it, it'll be back down to 14, or I may even take it down to 6. I've made some friends that are they're sort of in the criminal element, you might say. They're helping me.
Well, and that is the subject matter of your new book that I'm looking at here, Working with Criminal Elements. And it's a book that deals a lot with safety, I understand. But maybe you can explain to me what are some of these criminal elements doing, working to get ownership, if I want to be blunt about it, ownership of some of these medium rare elements that we see?
Well, most of the rare earth elements are actually related to criminal elements, and I'll give you some examples. I've also jotted those down. There's good copper, bad copper.
I've heard of that, yeah.
One. Vatican dulitis, hydrogen farfisa, which is a very, very rare element.
Yeah.
The hydrogen is, of course, quite common. The farfisa part of it is very uncommon. And, of course, hairy chiffon. But,
so the criminal elements want to own all of these medium rare.
Yeah, in fact, we were this close to a deal last Tuesday, I believe it was, and then the head criminal mastermind backed out of the deal. So, but I'll gonna keep at it. I'll keep at it.
Okay, I know you will. Now,
Let me just tell you, this guy, he's got something to say to you about soil samples. He and I shared a drawer of dressers. He'll tell you about soil samples.
okay.
Why
don't we do that on-
we'll do that
Why
later.
don't
But
we
we
do
were
that on the
roommates. He's
next,
referring to when we
episode?
were roommates, and even though he never paid his share of the rent,
You don't know my sister, do you?
not in that sense.
Okay,
No.
okay. Because he says that I have one. Anyway,
Was she was a Miss Teen America, wasn't she?
no, we're talking about somebody else.
Okay.
I think it was Tiffany
I don't
Shader.
understand. Could you ask again?
Soil sample, underpants, not a good scene.
Okay, let me just cut to the chase here for a minute, because my investigators are here tonight. They're a little on edge, and I'll tell you why they're a little on edge.
Family.
We have a blockbuster story. If you've been following what's going on in Washington, D.C. lately, you're probably wondering, well, how did we get in this mess? I'll tell you what happened. Here is a summary. First of all, while Mr. Trump was out of office, he learned about something called tech giants. And he learned that these were created by injecting ordinary humans with medium rare elements, and that this project was being run by aliens. So Trump thought they were a threat, these tech giants, and he asked fellow traveler Elon Musk about them. And he heard that they were in government agencies like the Department of Education, among others, that they were among DEI advocates, that some of the January 6 rioters knew where the tech giants were and could take care of them. Maybe the other tech companies knew something, but Musk said he could deal with this situation if he was the co-president. And Trump said, okay, that's fine, except we can't announce that until after the election. And so after he was elected, Trump went after all of these folks who might know about the tech giants. He pardoned the January 6 rioters so that they could go after him. He struck a deal with Zuckerberg and Boy Zeus to keep the tech giants issue quiet, okay? And with all of these attacks underway, Mr. Musk said, well, I must have missed something. We think some of the tech giants might be in Panama, you know, where the Panama and Panama Canal is, and Greenland. And he said, most of all, they're in Ukraine. That's where most of the good copper, bad copper is. And so Trump got elected, and that pretty much explains why some of the things he's doing now are so strange. Now, how did we uncover this big story? Let me tell you a little bit about that. My undercover people, who normally are undercover, took government jobs and went even deeper undercover. For example, Mike over here, he joined the Department of Transportation Anecdotes as Bernard 59 Bernard.
Hey, Hey, what am I done here? I'm not even finished with that job. I can't now go to the bathroom and get the free tampon machine stuff.
Yes, and believe it or not, Tina went to work at the Consumer Perfection Bureau under the name Zelda Spot, or Zelda Moan, or Zelda something.
Zelda Zestomat.
Yeah, that. I mean, did you have a good time while you were undercover at the Consumer Perfection Bureau?
Oh, everything I do is always a good time.
Okay, thank
So we've heard.
And let's just also mention that Mel went undercover, and that was at the Syntax Review Agency. He pretended to be Marvin Platimus. But you got over that, right? You had some bad experiences, you were telling me.
Yeah, I had some mixed syntax issues, but I think I've resolved those. So it's now kind of like Tina is one of the best gigs of my life now.
Oh, okay. These tech giants, did any of you get pictures of them? No.
No, I
Guess it's like Bigfoot when you claim to have a picture of a tech giant. And
they're rich enough they can afford the invisibility cloaks. That was one of the reasons it made it so difficult for us to track them down. It's because they're invisible.
It sounds like you're talking negatively about tech giants. Tech giants have your and my best interests at heart.
Okay, so my people went undercover to get this story for you, but let's start with the big man in town, Mr. Trump. First of all, let's just concede that he barely won in this last election. He won by like 0.1% or something like that, but he claims that he has a giant mandate to make government easier for big corporations and stuff.
He claims he has a lot of giant things that he doesn't really.
Yeah, a lot of giant things. Now, in the beginning, to confuse everyone who was looking, he served up a bunch of executive orders. I think that comes naturally to him. We have a slide on that, I think, that he. Yes, no, the next one, like that. We know he won. See, growing concern over those executive orders. Now, a lot of people who were in the Beltway said, you must have a typo there, and the Beltway Bugle admitted there was a typo, that they meant to say executives' orders. That's what they meant to say. But anyway, what happened after that was that the president pardoned the January 6 rioters, including some who are already sentenced, you know.
Because he doesn't like, he's not into complete sentences. In fact, ask this guy about his dangling participles.
Okay, all right, no complete sentences. And then he announced that there are really only two sexes. That's old white men who are racist and everybody else. That's the other sex.
Like your sister.
I don't have a sister, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Did she run foul of a criminal element, perhaps?
The president then announced that everybody working for him would have a new wardrobe. They're now all wearing lawsuits. I know you have a lawsuit. I've seen pictures.
Several. I am not at liberty to discuss them.
Okay, and then, and then there's the trade war stuff. Now, in Canada, for example, we get a whole lot of our steel and aluminum from them, but I guess he's saying that we can plant more foil.
Yeah, well, I get a little to share in that, boss. What's going to happen is some of his followers are going to do the right thing, and they're going to donate their tinfoil hats, and we're going to plant those, and then the aluminum will grow like bigly, like huge. You've never seen. Everybody says
Okay,
the aluminum will be crazy.
Mexico is another victim, if you want to put it that way, of Trump's trade war. Now, in Mexico, we get a whole lot of produce like avocados and whatnot. But I guess the idea there is that we'll have more avocado manufacturing plants here. And then China is another target of the trade war. And I think what the president said was, well, you have a great wall, but we're going to have a greater wall. How about that? I guess he means longer or more steel, but where are we going to get this? Oh, higher, yes, higher.
Hey, watch your hand. I may be Italian, but I'm not that Italian.
Well, I want to take you higher, but I'm not allowed to. It's new government regulations. And speaking of new regulations, you know, every time that there's a change in administration, there's some new departments and some new websites. So, like, for example, we have the Department of Thoughts and Prayers. Boy, we have needed that for a long time. And then we have the Agency for Denial of Climate Change. And then we have the Anti-Social Security Administration. You know, when people look at that website, the way it's changed, I don't blame them for being a little suspicious about the future of their so-called benefits that are, well, guaranteed, or used to be guaranteed. And one other department I want to mention before we look at the news. The Department of Health and Human Services is now being changed to the Department of Health and Human Services and Non-Human Services. Yeah. Y'all know anything about that?
Well, there's a separate sub-department that's going to cater just to transgender mice. So that's where their non-human services are.
I thought it had something to do with the sex robots.
That was my previous industry. What would you like to know?
I think we know enough already here.
The Strategic Rubber Reserve.
I'm not at liberty to answer that. Please try again.
Repetitive.
Let's get down here to brass tacks. First thing is, the president said that he was going to do all sorts of things on day one, and he didn't do them. And so some people are saying, did you mean day one or one day? Then another thing was immigration. And the point here was that some people need to leave the country. And then the talk on all of this escalated, and the president was saying, if you're not really from here, you need to leave. And a lot of American Indian tribes were relieved to hear that, because if all of us leave,
Then it's easier to get a ticket to the Grand Canyon on the Little River tour. Let me tell you.
That's right, exactly. Another thing that he was supposed to do on day one is deal with egg prices. But what happened is since they weren't actually going to do anything, they reverted to storytelling, in this case about Haitians stealing and eating all of the eggs. But I understand that the upshot of that is that there are now recipes for substitutes for eggs. For example, most of the country really likes artichoke hearts, but it turns out that artichoke spleens taste a whole lot like eggs. So we're seeing that. Yes?
I see that you're looking for a substitute for eggs. May I suggest eggs?
Okay. All right.
She's good.
Yeah.
Good. Never in my house would we come up with that.
She knows what she's talking about. Right?
Thank you. Your feedback is welcomed.
Oh, I got plenty of feedback, darling.
I get your
Okay.
feedback. Now, I do have, boss, on the egg price, I do have a little tidbit. What Trump's going to do is going to open the XL pipeline, but it's going to repurpose it so it imports mutant chickens from Transylvania. And these mutant chickens lay 10,000 eggs a day, so that's going to solve the whole problem.
Okay, I can see how that would solve the problem, but the problem of DEI, this is another one that Trump said on day one, we're going to deal with this. In fact, we looked up some transcripts. Mike, you got this for me before you got in such a bad mood. In a deposition late last year, and it doesn't matter what it was all about, Trump said, and you can see here for himself, when we had white males as weathermen, we didn't have so much bad weather. Now that we have women and minorities doing the weather, well, you make the connection. That's what he says. Now, there was also this talk about a scandal, condoms for Hamas. And the numbers were excruciating, I mean, unbelievable. But I think it turns out to be a misunderstanding. Isn't that what I heard from one of you?
The exchange rate of the condoms for the hummus condom exchange sale of the Middle East that's coming up. I got you covered.
Oh, that's right. There was a secret covert operation about condoms for hummus.
Yeah.
And they got it confused. Okay. I guess they also got confused about the...
Now, boss, I hate to interject, but viewers should know that hummus, while it is a very popular and tasty chickpea dip originating in the Middle Eastern region of Earth, it is not an acceptable lubricant for condoms.
That's not what his wife used to say.
My sister used to say that.
Now he admits it.
She used to say a lot of stuff, Bob.
Yeah, listen, Mel, you were telling me that you can explain this this misunderstanding about the Gulf of America, which used to be called the Gulf of Mexico. Can you kind of tell me about that, how that happened?
Well, I think it all goes back. It's a little tricky, but it basically goes back to, Trump's an avid golfer, and he wanted to do a tournament in Mexico, but the Mexicans, because of the whole avocado business, didn't want him in Mexico. So he wanted to rename it the Gulf of Mexico so he could stage a tournament in Mexico. But it just got all confused, kind of like the Hamas thing, and it ended up as the Gulf of America.
So his staff kind of told him one thing and he heard something else.
That's not an uncommon thing.
That usually happens. And that reminds me, the Kennedy Center, that's something where, first of all, I heard that he was looking for a new casino. So it was either going to be this casino, the former Kennedy Center, or someplace in Gaza. He was going to have a big casino there. But one thing he said was, we're not going to have any more drag shows, but maybe some drag races.
You got that right.
Yeah, and then he also said that we would have different entertainment than we used to have. I know one of the first acts that's coming in is Vlad and the Invaders. I haven't heard too much of their stuff, but I hear it's very noisy. It's almost military.
I find it's almost like having your ears impaled. It's so noisy.
Okay. That makes sense too. The last part of this thing involving the head buffoon is the blow-up that just happened at the White House when Zelensky was there. He had come to sign a treaty on those medium rare elements, and then he told Trump and Vance that actually he didn't have any more good copper, bad copper, because the storage facility had been bombed by the Russians. And then they got irate and told him to leave. And Zelensky said, let me talk to who's in charge, really in charge. And you know how Trump handles things like that. But there are people who believe everything Trump says, as you know. I think we were just looking at the website there, Foolproof, which provides you some sort of so-called evidence for anything you hear out of the head man's mouth. Okay?
I think your sister believes everything Trump says, but
I don't think I have a sister, but let's talk about somebody who is beyond belief, and that would be Elon Musk and Doge. Now, in the first place, nobody really knows what Doge stands for. We'll get to that in a minute on the eggs, but I don't think I've ever seen a clearer I know it's called the Department of Government of Goofball Economics, or the Department of Genetic Engineering, or the Department of Gratuitous Excuses. I'm not sure what it's really called.
Gorgeous effervescence.
That too. And I'm not sure, from what I have been following in the news, who is actually in charge. Somebody was telling me it's
an EV.
Richard Tate, or
the guy, the tater tots on the big dick.
Dick Tate. I think I know him. No, I don't know him. No.
Alert! Dick Tater and the Tater Tots have just been added to the lineup at the Kennedy Center.
Oh.
Tickets, link in bio.
Thank you very much. Tina, you seem to be on top of everything.
I'm just here to make your life easier, boss.
You know, and Trump seems to be on top of everything, i.e. above the law. You got it? Anyway.
that's pretty much what Stormy said.
Yeah, one of the first things that Musk, well, let me just mention one other thing that Elon is alleged to have said before I talk about egg prices, and Musk keeps going around saying, I did not see salute. I did not see salute. I don't know what that means, but he keeps saying that. Anyway, eggs, yes, eggs. What Elon decided to do was to fire all of the underproducing hens. Did it work? Well, Tina?
I'm sorry, I can't answer that.
Thanks
Please
very
ask
much.
a question that makes sense.
Thanks very much. I'll ask my sister about that.
That's right.
Well, once we get, as I said before, once we get the mutant chicken issue straightened out, then
Yeah.
We have a strategic reserve of the battle hens of the Republic.
yeah,
Oh, I now see why we're spending all of that money on the battle hens. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone
It's
should
a-
have one in their backyard. That's what the new director, lady of the Department of Agriculture said. Everybody in your backyard, you got a little dog hut. You put a little cock in there, and apparently that's what's going to make the government stay out of your business.
See,
You made a clever pun. Ha 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 ha.
right.
Good.
Me
We're
too.
going to talk after.
Okay, next we had Elon saying he was going to just cut out, and we don't need recipes yet. We haven't got there. I don't know who's in the control booth tonight. Must be one of those guys that.
it's a DEI hire apparently.
Yeah, DEI hire must be running the board tonight. Anyway, USAID, that was one of the agencies where a whole bunch of people got cut out. But Trump apparently misunderstood once again what he was being told, because he thought it was U.S. made that it was being cut. The maid service that goes in to these various countries and cleans up a mess. He just said, if they're going to make a mess, they'll make a mess again, so just leave it alone.
Well,
Nuclear weapons. See, look, there it is again. There is that change law approach, and it says right here that we're talking about nuclear weapons first, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. There was a story going around that Musk wanted to fire everybody in charge of working on nuclear weapons, and then he had to backtrack and hire them all again. But you know what the real story is?
No. I'm sure you'll tell us, boss.
Well, you were supposed to tell me, and I had to find this out myself. They were going to sell some of our old nuclear weapons on eBay. That's it. And
but they got the they had to pull that back because they got the syntax wrong in the announcement. So
that's right. And it's all because of this chainsaw approach. And there it is, the chainsaw approach. It's a recipe that I found online. Actually, it's called the chainsaw surprise. But what you're supposed to do in the chainsaw surprise is to just chop up all of the ingredients mercilessly. Now, when I say mercilessly going through the government, they even went to the Social Security Administration, and they started claiming that there were people on there who were 200, 300 years old. Now, of course, we know those people weren't getting any benefits, so it was a dumb story to start with, except we found one guy, an old rock star. He's about 250 years old. He is still getting payments, but they're meager payments. So he's living on a diet of, are you ready? Artichoke spleens. That's it. That's right.
Amazing that he's a British citizen, no less.
I'm told that artichoke spleens taste just like eggs.
I think we may have mentioned that before. Let's talk about the approach that Elon Musk took. First of all, he tried to buy out the contracts of government workers and told them that they could enjoy 6 months of income as long as they weren't working anymore, and promised to leave. Now, you got one of those checks, didn't you, Mel?
You betcha by golly.
For how much?
$2.99.
And didn't you think that was a little low ball?
Well, they told me it was 6 months, so of course I had no choice but to believe them. So
that's what the new hires are getting, right. I suppose.
I'm planning on using it to buy some cosmetics.
Okay.
So I can, you know.
Link in bio.
Thank you. You're very helpful tonight.
You know, when that didn't work, when buying people out didn't work, Elon started sending around emails to all sorts of government agencies, and we've got copies of some of them. This first one just says that the substantial majority of the citizens in the country are actually sentient beings, many in your own workplaces, and we are trying to intimidate and silence them. Now, that was kind of a veiled threat, but apparently it wasn't threatening enough.
Well, if a large majority are sentient beings, they certainly must not have voted, because the vote was clearly won by a non-sentient being, so he must have been voted in by non-sentient beings. But I could be wrong.
Well, I mean that's in your contract. I mean, that's in your contract. But because of this, he sent around an even more threatening email to all personnel, as it says, all personnel, and it says that if you don't leave Let me see that next. Yeah. If you don't all leave, we're going to post the pictures of you with the plastic dinosaur on X. Have you seen these plastic dinosaurs?
I have.
You have?
I have.
Are they close relatives of yours?
No, but I've seen all of you with the plastic dinosaurs.
Whoa.
I'll erase them for a monthly subscription of only $34.95. Link in bio.
You don't have pictures of me with the dinosaur, though. Just them.
Are you certain about this?
Okay, let's go right
For
on.
only 99 cents, you
to the
can find
next.
out.
Let's go.
This is where we start our protest. All right, we ain't gonna do this. This is where it all's gonna end, right here. All right, Toots, this is the end of this crap.
Okay.
Sorry, go on.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Now, are these dinosaurs,
Just a minute. They were looking for waste and fraud, so I have to ask all of you if they actually found any. I know that they went after this gentleman, Mr. Arnold Meck, who bought some software for his staff. He bought the Windows 59 software because he just wanted to improve his workplace. But I guess they thought that was fraud. And then Elon looked at the National Archives and he discovered, to his great surprise, it's filled with books. And you know, he, as a digital person who's very modern, he said, what are these things? When we have digital files, we can change them when we need the truth to be different. And in these books, things are written down permanently. So my question is, did they actually find any fraud or waste going through all of these government departments?
I believe they found $368 in one department.
You mean 368 million?
No, well, it may have been reported that way. The Intel tech bros have a little trouble with decimal places, but it was actually only $368.
$368. Now that makes me think about a book that I have been looking at. I can't actually read. My sister read parts of it to me. It's called By the Numbers. It's by Automatic. And the theme of this book is that when an M becomes a B, then it was probably just a T or an H to start with. Can anybody decode that for me?
The B becomes a T, becomes a C, becomes an H. It speaks to me in a different way.
Mel?
Well, as I said, there's some confusion on how mega math is not very good. So there's that's a decoder.
I'm an expert in alien alphabets, not human. There are very few vowels.
Okay, I'm going to answer this question myself. I studied this, and what I think it means is when millions become billions, they were probably thousands or maybe even hundreds. That's MBTH. That's
brilliant. Brilliant.
Thank you very much. That's what that book is trying to tell you, and it says, you know, by the numbers, and I think he means by the book, or else he means BY, by the numbers.
I thought I just heard a second ago this broad here talked about a vowel movement, which again, obviously is referring to having to sit with this guy in a roommate situation when your sister kicks me out of the house. Just a little history.
I think the T in that case stands for TMI.
If you pay your own rent?
I don't have an opinion. I think we should move on to the cabinet. I mean, well, I'm not talking about the one in your kitchen.
No, the sock drawer we talked about.
I'm talking about the one in D.C., okay? Now, first thing about the cabinet here that you should know is that all of these cabinets are going to have different functions and different leadership. Oh, I forgot something, and he's reminding me. And before I get to the cabinet, you know, Elon Musk, if he keeps making these mistakes, he might need to get one of those government pardons as well. But I think he'll be okay, and you know why? First of all, one of his big drives for policy involves making Mars the 51st state, even though some people, well, they would prefer that it be Canada. But Canada doesn't like that because, you know,
because they have a different vowel movement, the whole story.
Well, and we're putting a tariff on their foil, you know. So foiled again.
Fun fact, Canada does not have the atmosphere or water to sustain life, unlike Mars.
And that's one reason. And the other reason that I think that Musk will do okay, even after he has to be pardoned and fired, is he's launching a new dating app. Now, why can we assume that it will be successful? His minions have been gathering data about everybody in the country from every government data source. That means that in his new dating app, Musk can guarantee you that he will find somebody compatible. In fact, he'll probably find somebody that is almost exactly like you.
And who better to advise on relationships than a father of 53?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the last thing I want is to date someone that's exactly like me. I don't want to date myself. I mean, I think one of the problems, the incel bros have never been on a date, so they're having a little trouble sorting out the whole dating thing.
Okay. I mean, and I think you're probably right about that. I mean, you might be right. Okay. But let's just think for a minute here about the cabinet. I mean, and I don't want you to think too hard, because my sister always said that if you think too hard, you'll hurt your brain cells. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Right. First, let's look at some of these departments that are being changed. The Defense Department is going to be cutting a whole lot of money out of their budget. Now, why are they able to do that? You know that some of the policies of Mr. Trump are offending a lot of our allies. In fact, they are actually challenging the interests and the integrity of our allies. So if we don't have allies, we don't have to spend very much money on defense, because we're not guaranteeing that we will protect anybody. Makes perfect sense, right?
Too bad alimony and child support don't work like that.
It don't work like that?
Just saying.
So we're not going to furnish an umbrella of defense over our former allies. Is that
well, of course, we have the problem of some people from the Department of Gratuitous Excuses who are trying to run the nuclear weapons programs and sell off some of the old ones, and so that also will probably save us more money than we can even think about seriously. FBI. When Kash Patel got there, he was saying he's going to get rid of a bunch of agents. And you know, we got a copy of the questionnaire that people are being asked to fill out when they apply for a job at the FBI. And a couple of the questions here really make sense to me. First, who is your favorite Trump sycophant? that kind of tells you what kind of an FBI we're going to have if it's only going to have Trump sycophants in it. But more importantly, go down to number 3 here on the questionnaire, whether or not you've had experience in handing out parking tickets. Because according to Mr. Kash Patel, the new focus of the FBI is going to be parking tickets. All of this time wasted on far-right domestic terrorists, that's just money down the drain, you know. So fill out the questionnaire and see if you can get a job at the new FBI, which I think is not going to be centrally located anymore. That's my understanding is that, you know, Washington, D.C. is going to have 7 agents. And as for these agents, I'll tell you how they're saving some more money there. You saw, well, first of all, even in the CIA, for example, you used to have analysts who looked at the world and the world affairs and decided what we should do to be secure. Now we're just going to have a few script writers who say what's going on, and therefore we don't need all of these analysts. You could call it artificial intelligence that the CIA will be using from this day forward. Let me make, though, a notation about all of the law enforcement agencies. You heard the president in his speech to Congress giving a 13-year-old boy an honorary position in the Secret Service. And that's how we're going to save a lot of money. We're going to actually use 13-year-olds who think that they're making more money than they were making flipping burgers. Isn't that fascinating? Well, all right. I saw up there, by the way, something that's going on in the Justice Department. Pam Bondage is going to have a miscarriage of justice pageant. Now, Matt Gaetz, who was out of the government for a while, is going to be back hosting the miscarriage of justice pageant. Do you know anything about that one, Tina?
I don't. Do you?
Do I? Well, I mean, carriage of justice, you know, chassis of justice. I've seen some chassis in my day, and I may have owned a few pageants. I may have seen a few rooms here and there.
Okay.
So Matt Gaetz, I don't know, maybe the kids on those TV shows will go in, and find in the kitchen, they're going to arrest him. It'll be a nice reversal of fortune. 13-year-olds, perp walking, Matt Gaetz, that's prime time.
Okay, I think that pretty much covers it. I have to also report something that the Surgeon General said. It sounds a little too sane to be included in this discussion, but he warned about the possible outbreak of sanity. And he pointed out that they're simply not prepared to deal with that. Now, I know we have a lot of sanity at this table, accepting some of Mike's, you know, vulgar commentary, but...
Sorry, that's Dick, apparently. This is
Richard.
It's the New English, yes.
Okay, right, Dick, right, okay. Anyway, all of these appointments to the cabinet, it's recipe time again, because they all got grilled when they appeared before the Senate. Now, I've been tempted to try some of these recipes myself. I don't have the kind of pit that's required to do the real barbecuing that they did of these people, but I'm going to try.
Sorry.
Yes. I'm going to try some of these recipes myself.
Do they go good with hummus?
They go good with condoms, I know that.
I'm not sure we want the details on that bus.
Okay, well, I can't give you the details, and I don't think our bot can do that either. I mean, that's one of those no access areas.
Condoms and grilling do not compute. It sounds unsafe. Please try again.
Okay, thank you.
You have to go in the back door, you know?
Yeah, with a lot of these programs, you have to use the, well, anyway, yes, indeed. Now, our last area where we're looking at the changes, we talked about the head man, we talked about the expense-cutting man, we talked about the cabinet. What about the external world out there? Well, I'll tell you a few things. First of all, on Facebook, I am seeing a whole lot of talk about woke folk being deported to Guantanamo Bay, but some people confuse that with eBay, thinking that we have a prison there as well. And one thing that this change in government hasn't stopped is the ridiculous stuff that you see on Facebook where people are saying that as long as you're an adult, in this case, an adult with a cat or a dog living in the United States, that you can get a free luxury car because they're taking the old models off the lot and you can pick one up for free. Okay, next, the Washington pest. We've talked about Boy Zeus and how he, you know, follows the money trail, how he lets money talk. Well, look at this editorial that we've just seen. He's supporting a proposed constitutional amendment that whenever the reference is made in that document to the president, that the word king or his majesty should be substituted. Is that bending over backwards to people in power? I think so. And finally, let me just point out that tax scams are taking place because people always assume that taxes are going to be different once the government is different. And so I have recently seen things online promising you 25 grand if you will just dig some holes in the backyard and say that you're looking for medium rare elements. Well, folks, that's all that we have time for tonight. I certainly appreciate having the assistance of machine intelligence and intelligence of dubious origin and even vindictive commentary. Dictive commentary to guide us through these troubling times. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Change sunny day. I said this a long time ago, Frank. You're gonna get yourself in trouble if you don't, strike while the iron is hot. If you don't respond when opportunity knocks at your door. If you don't give it 126%. You know what I'm saying, Frank? Everyone